There is a truck sitting in a driveway somewhere in America right now, 3 years old. Paint still looks poured on last week, maybe 22,000 miles on it, which for a full-size pickup is barely broken in, and the man who owns it has not slept properly in 4 months. Not because anything is wrong with the truck, because of what is wrapped around it. The number that hits his phone every 30 days, the one that started manageable and quietly became the second largest line item in his entire life, right behind the mortgage, ahead of everything else. He is not alone. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how a $70,000 truck becomes a financial trap before the first year is finished. You will understand the 3 exits from that trap and why every single one of them is painful. And you will understand who built the machine that put millions of people inside it and why they had every incentive in the world to keep it running. But first, the headline you clicked is not entirely accurate. And you deserve to know that up front. You cannot return a new truck. There is no returns counter at any dealership in America. The moment you sign and drive off, the sale is final. No grace window, no cooling off period, no receipt to bring back. The law people believe exists for vehicle purchases simply does not exist. So no, millions of Americans are not walking calmly into showrooms and handing keys back like a jacket that didn't fit. What is actually happening is worse than that. Millions of Americans are surrendering trucks to lenders, having them repossessed in the middle of the night or dragging them back to dealers buried so deep in debt that walking away still costs thousands. It is a return in the same way a shipwreck is a vacation ending early. To understand how this happened, you need one idea, one mechanical principle that sits underneath every truck loan in America. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Every truck loan is a race between 2 lines. The first line is what your truck is worth and it only goes down. The second line is what you owe, and it also goes down, but dramatically slower. The gap between those 2 lines is called negative equity. Forget the term. It just means you owe more than the truck is worth. The moment you drive off the lot, a new truck sheds 10 to 20% of its value in the first year. Meanwhile, loans are structured to front-load the interest, meaning most of your early payments go to interest, not the principal. The value line drops like a stone. The loan balance drifts down like a feather. For the first 3 or 4 years of a long loan, you are underwater nearly the entire time. A generation ago, buyers financed trucks over 36 months. Short loans pay principal fast enough to stay ahead of depreciation. The trucks did not get worse. What changed is the paperwork. And in 2026, the paperwork has been stretched to levels this industry has never seen. Start with the price because everything else flows from it. The average transaction price for a new full-size pickup hit $65,964 this spring, according to Kelley Blue Book. Not the premium trim, the average one. The average new vehicle overall runs about $49,000, meaning the average truck costs roughly $16,000 more than the average everything else. And that gap is not there because steel got expensive. It is there because the truck itself changed. 20 years ago, a pickup was a working tool, vinyl floors, a basic radio, crank windows. Today, the volume sellers are leather-lined family haulers with heated everything, panoramic roofs, cascading screens, and trim packages named after mountain ranges. The honest work truck has essentially vanished from dealer lots, not because manufacturers stopped building it, because dealers stopped ordering it. There is no margin in a stripped work truck. The loaded crew cab carries thousands more in profit on the same basic frame, so 9 loaded trucks ship for every plain one. The entry point for what most buyers actually drive home has floated quietly towards $70,000, while household incomes did not float with it. And watch what buyers do when price outpaces paycheck. They do not walk away. The sales numbers prove it. They stretch the loan. In Q2 2026, a record 23.9% of all finance new vehicle purchases carried terms of 84 months or longer. Nearly 1 in 4 buyers is signing up for 7 years of payments on a depreciating machine. Average loan terms have pushed past 70 months. At the same time, the average down payment has dropped below 12% of the purchase price. The average new F-150 buyer was paying $970 per month by Q4 2025, according to Experian, the highest of any gas-powered model tracked. Across the full new vehicle market, roughly 1 in 5 finance purchases now carries a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. 6 or 7 years ago, that group was under 7%. A 4-figure car payment used to mean you bought a German luxury sedan with an ego problem. Now it is nearly a fifth of the entire market, and a massive portion of it is trucks. But if you want to understand why the monthly payment is a trap, you have to run the math. The finance office does not run for you. Take a $70,000 truck, put $6,000 down, finance the rest over 84 months at 7%. In year 1, the truck loses $10,000 to $15,000 in value while your payments have barely moved the principal because the interest consumes the front of every payment. By the end of year 2, you can easily owe $10,000 more than the truck would bring at trade. That is the trap. As long as life stays stable, the trap remains theoretical. The moment something changes job, income, an unexpected bill, it becomes very real, because selling the truck does not pay off the loan. You would have to sell it and write a 5-figure check for the privilege of not owning it anymore. And this is not a fringe situation. Nearly 30% of all trade-ins in Q2 2026 carried negative equity, according to Edmunds. Among those underwater trades, the average shortfall hit a record $6,884, and the trucks most famous for holding their value are not being spared. The F-150 sits at nearly $8,400 underwater on average, the Silverado at $8,500, the Tundra at almost $9,000. The average age of those vehicles sits right around 4 years, pointing back to 2021 and 2022, when lots ran empty, discounts vanished, and buyers paid sticker or above for whatever showed up. Those buyers did nothing reckless. They paid the going rate in a broken market and stretched the term to make the payment survivable. The market has corrected underneath their loan balances. The loan balances have not corrected with it. The bill from 2022 is arriving in 2026. What makes this particularly striking is which trucks appear most in negative equity data. Not the unreliable ones, not the obscure ones, the F-150, the Tacoma. The Tundra trucks, famous for holding value. As an Edmunds Director of Insights stated plainly, this is a financing problem, not a vehicle problem. Even a great truck gets completely undermined by a punishing loan wrapped around it. You can make the right vehicle choice and still lose, because the failure is not in the frame, it is in the contract. So when someone hits that wall, there are 3 doors out, and every one of them gets called returning the truck. The first door is the underwater trade-in. You bring the truck to a dealer, and the dealer does something that should come with a warning label, but instead comes with a handshake. He rolls your negative equity into the next loan. Say you owe $52,000 on a truck worth $44,000. The dealer credits you $44,000 for the trade, takes the $8,000 gap you still owe, and folds it into the price of the new vehicle. You drive home in a $65,000 truck carrying a $73,000 loan. Before the new truck has lost a single dollar of its own value, you are already $8,000 underwater on it. Edmunds' research shows buyers who roll negative equity this way end up financing dramatically more than a typical buyer, paying above $900 per month on average, and handing over more than $16,000 in interest on the new contract. That is not an exit. That is the same trap with a fresh coat of paint. The second door is the voluntary surrender, and this is the one actually surging right now. Searches for Give Back My Car have roughly doubled in recent months. You call the lender, explain you cannot continue, and hand the truck over. Feels more dignified, but the bank does not reward the dignity. The truck goes to a wholesale auction where it sells in about 90 seconds for far less than retail because the auction buyer needs room to recondition it and still make his margin. Whatever the hammer says gets applied to your balance, minus towing, storage, and fees. Whatever remains is called a deficiency balance, and it is still legally your debt. The lender can sue for it and garnish wages to collect. On top of that, a voluntary surrender records on your credit report as a repossession roughly 100 points off your score, sitting there for 7 years. The third door is the one nobody chooses on purpose, the involuntary repo. You stop answering calls and one morning the driveway is empty. If you think this can be avoided by moving the truck around, understand how the recovery business operates in 2026. It is not someone with a clipboard staking out your street. Recovery companies run camera-equipped vehicles that sweep neighborhoods continuously, scanning plates against national databases in real time. And many modern trucks report their own GPS location to the lender through the same connected system running your navigation. The truck you are trying to hide is carrying its own tracking collar. The subprime auto delinquency rate hit 6.9% in early 2026, a 3-decade high per Fitch ratings. Repossessions in 2024 reached 1.73 million vehicles, the highest since 2009, the floor of the Great Recession. The last time this many Americans were losing vehicles, the entire financial system was in open crisis. This time, there is no headline emergency. There is just a monthly payment that grew until it matched a mortgage from a different era, attached to an asset depreciating every day. Now, here is the part of this story that is not accidental. A dealership does not make its real money on the truck. The margin on the metal is thin. The money lives in the finance office, in loan origination fees, in the rate markup earned by placing you at a slightly higher rate than you qualified for, in the warranties and protection packages folded invisibly into the back end of the contract. And above all, it lives in the cycle. There is no profit in a buyer who takes a short loan, pays the truck off in 4 years, and drives it for a decade. There is extraordinary profit in a buyer who buys more truck than they need, finances over 7 years, comes back underwater in year 3, and rolls the shortfall into another 7-year contract. That customer never actually leaves. The negative equity rollover is not a flaw the system failed to fix. It is the retention program. Nobody in that office is a villain. It is quieter than that. 1,000 small decisions, each made in favor of the number that benefits the business over the number that protects the buyer. And a customer trained to ask, "What is my monthly payment?" instead of "What is my total cost?" walking in without preparation is going to lose every time. Here is what to do with all of this. If you are underwater on a truck right now, the best move in most cases is the most boring one. Keep it, drive it, pay it down. Depreciation flattens dramatically after year 4 and every payment closes the gap. The equity math improves the longer you stay in the boat. If you must get out, never roll negative equity into something more expensive. Get out sideways into something with a smaller number attached. The gap does not shrink by adding to it. If you are still shopping, 20% down, 60 months or fewer, total vehicle costs under 10% of gross monthly income. If the truck you want cannot survive those numbers, that is not the bank being difficult. That is arithmetic telling the truth. Buy the trim below what you want. Buy the 3-year-old truck and let someone else donate the depreciation. Negotiate total price, never the payment, and arrive with your own financing approved so the finance office is competing for your business instead of designing your terms. A pickup truck is still one of the most honest, durable machines a regular person can own. A solid engine, a good frame, basic maintenance, 250,000 miles is entirely achievable. The machine was built to outlast the loan by a factor of 5. What changed is not the truck. What changed is the financial instrument wrapped around it. Your grandfather's truck sat paid off in the yard as an asset that owed nothing to anyone. For millions of Americans today, a truck is a rented monthly obligation with a cargo bed attached. We did not lose that overnight. We signed it away, 84 months at a time. Drop your situation in the comments. What is your payment? How many months did you sign for? And if you have been through a surrender or a repo, tell me what that phone call sounded like. Those stories teach more than any statistic I can pull. If this video delivered, subscribe.